What is going on, everyone? Nostalgia95 going at you with another, I would say pseudo Digimon Digivolution video, one that might maybe blow some of your minds. I know it did mine. What would you say if I were to tell you that you have been unintentionally lied to about a particular Digimon that belongs to the most known Digimon in the franchise? Let me show you the one comment that inspired me to make the video, a comment written in explaining Cyclonemon video. Oh, by the way, I think we should say Cyclonemon or so? People made some remarks of my pronunciation in that video and in others. I'm really sorry guys, but know that my English is not really Nostalgia95's main language. There is Dutch, there's French and some other African languages, so please don't Terra destroy me. Jacob Riggs wrote the following: seriously, what would the proper rookie level of Garurumon look like? And Arturo Jazz Miller replied by saying the following: I don't know, that's a good question. Well, that's indeed a very good question. After analyzing GABUMON'S background story, it doesn't really ask a lot of thinking to come to the conclusion that Garurumon might not, or rather should not be, GABUMON'S champion form. In fact, GABUMON should have had another Digivolution. But something important happened, making Gabumon digivolve into Garurumon instead of another Digimon, and that's what I will explain in this video. I would like to take off by reading a comment written by our dear Spark Gold, who said the following in explaining Cyclonemon Digivolution video. One thing you seem to make clear in this video is that Gabumon and Agumon themselves seem to have a lot of similarities, and the two species seem very closely related as rookie forms. Well, you are absolutely right. In fact, both Agumon and Gabumon are the most related when it comes to the Digimon Season 1 partner Digimon. Let me name a few just to give you some perspective. Biyomon, who explained in the Explaining Biyomon Digivolution video, is a bird Digimon, and as you see from the picture, most if not all of its next forms are of the bird type. Tentomon, who we explained in the Explaining Tentomon Digivolution video, is an insect Digimon and its next forms are also of the insect type. Gamamon, who we explained in the Explaining Gamamon Digivolution video, and a Digimon I thought to be closest related to Gabumon, as they are both considered as water/ice type Digimon, is a sea animal Digimon and its next forms, well, depending on whether it decided to live its life near a coast, are also sea creatures. And when you look at Gamamon, you cannot really be surprised that it digivolves into a Gabumon. Agumon, who we explained in Explaining Agumon Digivolution video, and Gabumon are both reptiles. Gabumon is not some bear as I kind of imagined back in the days. No, Gabumon is a reptile just like Agumon. And notice, Gabumon's initial appearance should be without the fur, making it look even more like Agumon. I will explain that fur later on in the video, just know that Gabumon shouldn't be wearing the fur at all. The biggest difference between Agumon and Gabumon is that Agumon further digivolves into other reptile-type Digimon. Think of Greymon, Metal Greymon and so forth, while Gabumon goes from the reptile type to the animal type. So something is clearly wrong. Well, same goes with Gadumon actually, who is a cat and suddenly digivolves to an angel. Same goes with Patamon. We will discuss that in other videos because it really bothered me. And I know that some of you left beautiful comments about it, which deserves to be used in that particular video. We will use those comments and theorize about it later on. Why did Gabumon digivolve to Garurumon and not to a Digimon that looks more like Greymon? Because Gabumon is a reptile. Heck, some even suggested Cyclonemon to be its champion form. And why not? It does not seem to be far-fetched at all. You know what I did? I went looking for the similarities between Agumon and Gabumon just to make sure that my theory about Gabumon normally digivolving to another Digimon instead of Garurumon would make sense. I noticed that Gabumon shares a great many similarities to Agumon. Agumon belongs to many families, but the one it shares with Gabumon are the Nature Spirits family. Members of this field are generic animal or monster-like Digimon or those who dwell in desert-like areas. The Metal Empire family. Members of this field are generally mechanical or mutated Digimon, or those who dwell in urban areas. And to finish, the Virus Busters family, members of this field are generally sacred or angelic Digimon or those who dwell in holy areas. Assuming from the fact that both are of the reptile type, based on the families they belong to, normally there shouldn't be that big of a difference in their next forms. Heck, both of them are yellow and usually Digimon retain their colors in their next forms. Obviously there are exceptions, but still most remain with a similar color. I also noticed that Gabumon and Agumon have the same type of attacks. Both of them use fire attacks. I admit that I always thought that Gabumon's blue blaster was an ice beam, but it isn't. it releases a stream, or depending on the media depiction, a projectile of blue ice-like flames from its mouth. As we explained in the Explaining Garurumon Digivolution video, blue fire is not ice but simply a variant of fire with a higher temperature in comparison to the yellowish flame. Gabumon has not ice-related attacks, they are mostly fire. Speaking of Garurumon, I believe that the same mistake happened to Gabumon. I explained that blue Garurumon in certain Digimon games is identified as an ice/water type. I don't have reason to believe that Gabumon is also of the water type, let alone the ice type, because again, it spits fire and not ice or water. I am sure that, well, I cannot say that with 100% certainty, but I doubt that the Gabumon can actually survive on water, let alone underwater. Its physiology simply isn't designed to allow it to survive in those areas. And just to be precise, it is a reptile. Reptiles do not have fur nor feathers. Speaking of reptiles, you have to know that they can exist in aquatic areas, even though Gabumon doesn't seem to be designed for those areas either. However, reptiles cannot survive in polar areas. Well, there are very few examples of reptiles surviving there. Let me read something interesting, and I quote, "Reptiles do not produce their own heat but instead rely on heat sources in the environment. In frigid settings, cold-blooded animals like snakes and frogs simply never warm up. No reptile has evolved to survive the rigors of Arctic climate. But that is not to say that it is impossible. In fact, it is likely that at least a few reptile contemporaries of the dinosaurs managed to survive through conditions similar to that of the present-day Arctic. There is one snake, the common garter snake, whose distribution extends as far north as the southern border of tundra. This animal has an incredible ability to withstand low temperatures. It can tolerate temperatures of -5 degrees Celsius without freezing. When temperatures drop lower than this, it can survive with up to 40% of its body fluids turned to ice. So, theoretically spoken, with all the information I already gave you, Gabumon should not be considered a water/ice type. Heck, if it were the case, I think it would in the least belong to the Deep Savers family. Members of this field are generally aquatic or polar Digimon, or those who dwell in marine areas. While Gabumon as a reptile should not survive in polar areas, still it managed to survive, as it is written that it is especially close to an ice dragon called Bulukomon, who we discussed in the Explaining Bulukomon video. I have a reason, a theory, explaining why Gabumon managed to survive in those colder areas. Let me read a quote for you. "Due to its extremely timid and shy personality, it always gathers up the data which Garurumon leaves behind and shapes it into a fur pelt to wear. Because it is wearing the fur pelt of Garurumon, who is feared by other Digimon, it fills the role of safeguarding itself as a result of protecting its body. Gabumon probably survived the colder areas due to that pelt it was able to form thanks to Garurumon's data. Now, Garurumon may not belong to the Deep Savers family, but when you look at its design, it already looks to be able to survive in various ecosystems in comparison to reptiles, in comparison to Greymon. Garurumon is derived from the Canis lupus, which is a wolf, and wolves are spread all around the globe, from Africa to Europe to Asia, Australia, America, even in the North Pole, where it is freezing. You'll see that wolves will end up changing fur colors, enabling them to better adapt to their environment. Reptiles, on the other hand, reptiles in the shape of dinosaurs, crocodiles, you name it, their habitat was limited in comparison to wolves. Colder areas are simply said not meant for reptiles. This might explain why they did not survive the Ice Age. And let's not forget, in the Explaining Bulukomon video, I said that the Digimon universe went through an Ice Age. I hope we can find more data on that period to see how Digimon evolved and adapted, because this might maybe explain how Agumon, as a reptile Digimon, became Snow Agumon and still managed to survive as a reptile in a freezing environment. But then again, never forget what Charles Darwin said about the theory of evolution: it takes time, a lot of time. And know that Snow Agumon is extremely different to Agumon, different attacks and different digivolutions. With the logic of Charles Darwin, both Agumon and Snow Agumon developed way too different from each other to even be considered the same, even if fundamentally they are the same. Now, because Garurumon can survive in various places, obviously you'd have more chances of finding Garurumon's lost data or lost fur around you. That is why I think Gabumon was able to at least have access to that fur to make a pelt out of it. I also think that Gabumon little by little migrated from those warmer areas to the colder areas while completing its fur pelt. That same fur probably protected it in its migration, as it worked as a deterrent, stopping other Digimon from harming or killing Gabumon. Also, never forget that Gabumon is a timid Digimon, and in the warmer regions in the Digimon universe, you will see a lot of terrifying and aggressive Digimon ready to kill you on sight. From Kuwagamon, who normally would have killed the Digidestined in the first episode if it wasn't for fan service or the story, to Kabuterimon in the forest. Kabuterimon has no intelligence aside of its primitive instincts. Point is, there is no area where a timid Digimon like Gabumon would survive. The forests are dangerous, the deserts are dangerous, even the mountains are dangerous. These are areas where the strongest will manage to live a little longer than the others. In the Explaining Bulukumon video, I said the following, and I quote, "Due to being brought up in areas with small populations, they will tend to form very strong bonds even with Digimon of different species that they encounter. It is especially close to Penguinmon and Gabumon. Obviously Gabumon, with its timid personality, would rather make friends. It found an area with a small population where Digimon tend to make bonds despite being of different species, and that might explain how Gabumon managed to survive, and even better, this might explain why Gabumon is considered an ice/water type Digimon, despite, to my logic, fundamentally belonging to the same type as Agumon. Because again, Gabumon should not be able to survive in the polar region. It spews fire, it is a reptile, it does not belong to the Deep Sailors family, so there's no way it could survive there unless it was named Snow Gabumon, for example. Again, in the warmer southern areas, there is only the law of the jungle. The Digimon over there are usually really messed up in the minds and could burn, poison, crush or stab you on sight. According to my analysis, Gabumon migrated towards the Arctic region and survived the dangerous road to get there and the sub-zero temperature in the Arctic region because of the fur it was able to form thanks to Garurumon. However, and this is very important, I think that the data it gathered, the data shaped into a fur, probably messed up or mixed with Gabumon's data, making it digivolve to Garurumon. Sort of like a copy-paste type of process. The fur probably did something to Gabumon's core. And we all know that in the Digimon universe, objects, experiences and whatnot can make you digivolve differently. That is why many Digimon have multiple digivolution lines. And to give you a proper example, in explaining Gomamon Digivolution line video, I made a big theory explaining how Magiamon, a creature living in the hinterland of snowy mountains, suddenly became the fairy Piximon who does not live in the Arctic region but instead in forests. The theory shows that numerous factors can make a Digimon digivolve differently. Now, considering the theory of Gabumon digivolving thanks to the fur, this leaves us with the question of Jacob Riggs. What would the proper rookie level of Garurumon look like? And more important, what would Gabumon's champion level look like if it wasn't for the fur? I would say, guys, let loose in the comment section, make your biggest theories and develop them, impress each other, talk to each other, but know that we are not done with this subject. I'm sure that your theories will be very helpful for a future video. The biggest question of this video, how would Gabumon's champion form look like if it digivolved without being in contact with Garurumon's fur? Write your opinions down below. I'd like to end the video by first thanking my Patron friends Nathan Jones, Beast, Heben Bob, Marine Solar and a newcomer, Ran Segev, who wrote the following comment. Hi, I have become your newest Patron. You are the first and only one I support here, so it shows to you how much I like your content, and you seem like a really nice guy. Thank you, thank you. All I ask in return is for you to continue your great work, I will, and make an explaining Digimon on Dracomon when you get to it. Wow, this is really a nice comment. But this means we have a clash. Shall I go with this Digimon? Or this Digimon? Both of them are asked by Patron friends. I would say, guys, try to write at the end of your comment which Digimon you'd prefer that I discuss first. Dracomon, the progenitor of all Dramon species, or the mysterious ground dragon. Stay tuned to see which one I will discuss first. By the way, very important, before bringing the video to a close, I'd like to ask you all to please stay safe out there wherever you may live. The virus is really making me worried about all of you, and this YouTube experience is really because of you guys that I'm doing it. I get to wake up with some of your comments which already make my day before I even jump out of my bed. And your presence in my life is giving me both the strength and the enthusiasm to continue making these videos. I may not have seen you guys in real life, I know that I talk with some of you on Instagram, but yeah, even if I haven't seen you guys in real life, I genuinely care about your well-being. So please stay safe and listen to the authorities until it's all over. I will do my very best to make you enjoy Digimon in the meanwhile. For those who are new, please make sure to subscribe and take a look at my channel, especially the playlists. I made separate playlists for various subjects, may them be Digimon related or not, and they are always updated, that way it is easier for you as a newcomer to find your way and to catch up on the newest and the oldest videos.